All right, what do you have for me today, Diego?
Check this out.
So today we have a long sleeve shirt from Comme de Garçons Parfums. It cost 190 Canadian, so 140 US. Comme de Garçons Parfums is actually a sub-brand that was launched in 2002. It was meant to be a more accessible label within the Comme de Garçons fashion house. Looking at the shirt, this is a combed cotton, and this is actually made with a dyed yarn. Traditionally, when you're making shirts, such as the one I'm wearing, you're gonna be knitting the fabric and then you'll dye all the fabric in a dye lot, or you're doing garment dyeing. For shirts like this, you're actually making this with a dyed yarn. And you can see this by the inside. You'll see that between the black and white stripes, that's where the structures actually knit together. So looking at the care label, this seems to be made in Japan. It's a fairly basic garment, so I think there's a lot of heritage to that decision. Comme de Garçons was actually founded in 1969 by Rei Kawakubo, so they probably still do a lot of their garments. So let's flip this inside out, let's take a look at the construction. As to be expected, as most things made in Japan, the workmanship's pretty good. You'll see here, instead of ribbing, there's actually neck binding. And how they get this is they take the self fabric, they roll it up, and then they cut strips of it, and then it's fed in to a machine when sewing this neck binding, which is how you get this two-tone neck binding, which is the same as the fabric itself. Not much to this garment, but let's look at all the different trims. You have obviously the famous heart, and it's an embroidered patch. We have a plain weave for the inside neck label. On the inside, our care label, we have 3 here for the branded care label and the main care label. These are actually a nylon taffeta, which is unterrible. And because this is for the Canadian market, they sewed on another care label with French care instructions on it. And this looks to be a tie back. On the neck, there is a plain weave with the size tag on it. I do kind of wish that they sewed this on a separate section so you weren't puncturing the main care label, but it's probably really annoying at the back of the neck, but that was probably a design decision. So before we fully cut up the shirt, let's talk a little bit about branding. The shirt is $190 from CDG Play. If I were to remove this logo and this shirt said Hanes instead, the shirt would probably be less than $20. That's the power of branding. Especially when it comes to clothing, brands fulfill a psychological need. The need to feel a part of a community is why people buy jerseys from their favorite sports teams and why people wear sweaters with Harvard on it. Think of an Hermes Birkin bag. Even if you want to buy one, you couldn't. And people are willing to pay well over a sticker just to be a part of that community, just to feel like they belong. Regardless if you think it's silly or not, it's just a part of human nature. And if you own a brand, understanding this is a critical part of your success. So now that you know a little bit about branding, let's dive into the garment itself. So now that we've taken apart the garment, let's take a look at what panel pieces we have here. We have the right and left arm, we have the front panel piece, and the back panel piece. In terms of the complexity of the garment itself, all these panel pieces are gonna be cut by an automatic cutter, and it really is only gonna take 10 minutes to sew all this together. When it comes to constructing this garment, it's a fairly basic long sleeve shirt. Now that we know all the components that it takes to make this garment, let's figure out what the GSM is. So it's 162 GSM. In terms of actually cotton t-shirts, it's gonna be on the lighter weight side. All right, so now we know that it's 160 GSM. It's a combed cotton. It's made in Japan. It's a fairly basic garment, but again, the decision to make it in Japan is a part of its heritage, and Japan does have a higher cost of labor. I would say it probably costs us between $9 and $11 to make this garment in Japan. It's not insane to have a t-shirt at this price point to be a part of a luxury brand. So now that you know a little bit more about branding, let us know in the comments if you think it's worth it. This is what it costs.